Hello there. The pro-EU left goes into meltdown whenever anyone talks about protecting UK borders, but they remain totally silent when the EU does this. If the European Union can do this to protect their borders, then so can we. Most people in the UK are fed right up to the back teeth with being told that we mustn't protect our borders because it's racist or goes against human rights laws. That we can't have camps to house these English Channel pioneers because they must be allowed to roam free. It's the law, we're told. But the same people are totally silent about the 5 camps that the EU runs. 5 heavily monitored EU camps. If a UK government showed pictures of these camps and said, "We're doing that here," the lovies and their press would go ballistic, using the word concentration all over the place, all lawyering up big time. And these EU camps are situated in the Aegean Islands, within the EU member state of Greece. But woe betide anyone who even whispers of using a British overseas territory in exactly the same way. And these camps are funded by Brussels. And this was announced back in early 2021, with the EU saying it would provide €250 million to build 5 structures on the islands of Lesbos, Samos, Chios, Kos and Leros. And by September 2021, Politico was reporting that on Samos, the sprawling facility, the first of 5 the EU is funding, has amenities like playgrounds and air conditioning, but is also heavily policed and remote. And it talked about barbed wire, turnstiles, magnetic gates, X-ray machines, and an entrance that is only open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. They are basically highly surveilled, closed controlled access centres, CCACs. And the EU was telling everyone that this is the new generation of such camps. Essentially, it's what the EU envisions as the future of processing migrants who land on Greek shores, said Politico, including Afghans who might arrive seeking escape from the Taliban. In addition to the Samos facility, the EU is funding similar camps on the islands of Leros, Lesbos, Kos and Chios. It is meant to provide a higher standard of accommodation for asylum seekers, while also separating them from local communities who have been protesting their presence for years. Where's the Lineker-like outrage? And to top it all, Greece is supposedly bound by the same law under the ECHR that the UK is. And guess what the German news outlet DW was saying just last month? That the UN and the EU had a programme of emergency support to integration and accommodation for vulnerable migrants to keep them safe in apartments within the community. But Greece dropped the programme, and now asylum seekers in Greece have had to leave their apartments and move back into refugee camps. Athens says that standards in these camps are high, but migration experts say it is an attempt to deter others. But the UK approach is one of the velvet fist inside the velvet glove. And the European Council of Refugees and Exiles said back in May this year that the people in these camps live under a regime of incarceration and excessive policing. Authorities continue the use of criminalisation as an intimidation tactic towards organisations and humanitarians amid reports of pushbacks. So the EU can get tough and protect its citizens and push back against those who would aid the people trafficking profiteers. But if anyone had said such things about the UK and its authorities, we would have wall-to-wall Brit bashing, followed by huge compensation claims. And Joe Biden would probably wade in too, all trying to force the UK to drop any form of border control. Now, a lot of the usual suspect non-governmental organisations, the NGOs, that operate in the Med and the Aegean in their quest for totally open borders are constantly complaining about these camps and the authorities that try to prevent NGO humanitarian efforts to aid the people smugglers. But no one is listening. In complete contrast to the UK, where the bleeding heart liberals are in charge and have the megaphone. People who just cannot hoist in that we in the UK cannot house the world, and we also cannot afford financially to look after everybody. It's bad enough for our own vulnerable at the moment. And we cannot, I repeat, cannot afford politically to import external conflict. Contrary to what the lovies will tell you, there is a lot of tension between some ethnic and religious groups. We cannot import that tension. It can only further fragment our society. But I sometimes get the impression that is exactly what these commies, posing as lovies, actually want for everyone else. Now, I can hear the lefties out there gearing up to tell me that the camps have obviously not deterred people from coming. Well, firstly, think how bad the situation would be were the EU to take our extremely soft approach. And secondly, many in the EU blame some of their predicament on our soft approach acting as a magnet for people to travel across the EU. The lefty lovies will also point to the EU recently refusing to do a take-back agreement with the UK. Well, why would they, if we in the UK continue to act as a magnet? And further, as I explained in a previous video, the EU is on the verge of ditching the Dublin Agreement in favour of a new EU-wide system of border control, where those entering the EU to claim asylum must do so in the first country of call or legal visit. Now, before anyone says we should try and join this scheme, I also have to point out that it will require every member state to take in up to 30,000 asylum seekers a year, or to pay €20,000 into a central EU pot for each and every shortfall. So if they refused not to take anyone at all, it would cost that country €600 million. Not sure I'd want to be a part of that. We're already paying France gazillions for zero returns. But that's what the EU Council of Ministers has agreed their countries will do, and the laws are being drawn up. And once in place, those laws might well help the UK border situation anyway. Then there's the old saw. Just because the EU is acting imperfectly doesn't mean the UK has to follow suit, the lefties would say. Double speak for, let this nation die in the name of morality. Now back to the camps. Why aren't the lefty lovies in the UK demanding that the EU shut those camps down? Where's the press outrage? Could it be that they are also pro-EU at heart and don't want to put people off the idea of rejoining the bloc? I mean, for them, joining the EU again would enhance their concept of UK open borders, wouldn't it? And they would care not one jot that it would mean giving up sterling for the euro. I say no. The UK needs to urgently review its border policies for both legal and illegal entry, and not allow itself to be lurched to the left by Keir Starmer's closet ultra-left-wing Open Borders Labour Party. And we need to stop lefty lawfare destroying our now fragile social cohesion any further. So the next time some or other lefty tells you that nothing can be done except letting even more people come here, ask them why the EU can operate camps, but we cannot.